Hey guys, welcome to Cape and Cowl Cafe. I'm Nemo, and today we're going to be going over your guys' Star Wars hot takes. If you guys enjoy the video at any point today, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. But let's hop right in. Alright, first take of the day. Crack Spidey says, Finn should have been a Jedi. The idea of a nobody stormtrooper turned into a Jedi is dope in my opinion. Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't even know if that's a hot take, because Finn was just completely wasted in the sequel trilogy. He had such a cool introduction in The Force Awakens. I mean, the idea of a stormtrooper leaving the Empire and becoming a Jedi is insane, okay? And why else would you give him a lightsaber and have him fight a Sith Lord in the movie, unless you're gonna set that kind of thing up, okay? And yeah, I know Han Solo used a lightsaber in Empire Strikes Back, but he cut open the Tauntaun. But that's different, okay? He used it for like 5 seconds, he sucked at it, he wasn't fighting Kylo Ren, you know? Finn was just completely wasted. He had so much potential, and it really is frustrating to see how passionate John Boyega was about Star Wars, and then just see the way that they treated him in this trilogy. Just really terrible. Alright, next up, Matt Says Hello says, well, I guess he said hello, but Vader has never been more terrifying than in Rogue One. Come on guys, I'm gonna need some actual hot takes here, but yeah, I agree, okay? They essentially just got to redo Vader's introductory scene in A New Hope, but they showed like what happened right before when he was on the other ship and he was just tearing through everybody. It was so cool. Vader is so terrifying when they do him right. I'm also thinking of his appearances in the Jedi Fallen Order games. He was horrifying in both of those games. I mean, like having to run away from Vader in that ending sequence in the game and just the entire floor is being torn apart behind you. Wow, just Vader's so cool, and it is kind of disappointing when they just don't do him correctly, but... Alright, next up, Stealth Cycle says, the saddest story in modern Star Wars isn't the fall of the Jedi, it's the quiet extinction of the clone army, and The Bad Batch tells that story better than any other series. Yeah, again, I totally agree with this one, okay, and I'm one of those people that really thinks that the Jedi just kind of suck, and they're low-key the bad guys in the story. And like the fall of the Jedi is dramatic and important to the story, but it also feels inevitable once you understand how broken their system is. Like they just really suck, okay? And the clones, they never had a choice from the beginning, okay? In the Star Wars prequel trilogy, they're literally created to fight and die for a war that they don't understand, they didn't sign up for, and the Republic just treats them like property. Like they're no different from the droid army. The only difference is that they happen to be organic and they're not robots. It's so sad, okay? And what makes it hit even harder is when you actually get to know these clones, okay? Like Captain Rex and Fives, and you realize that they're not just soldiers, but they're people, you know? But they weren't treated as people, and it's horrible, you know? It really makes you think about whether or not the Jedi were actually the heroes that they claimed they were. I mean, they ripped children from their families, they forced their beliefs on other, systems. Now, Order 66 is where I think it gets even more heartbreaking because, yeah, the Jedi, they were getting murdered left and right, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the clones, like, they were forced to betray the people that they fought, alongside. Like, they were stripped of their agency in the most brutal way possible. They were forced to kill all of their friends. Like, they were just thrown away. It's so sad.
What is going on, everyone? This is Caden or Cantina Talk, and here's some more Star Wars hot takes. The first one being, Yoda and Obi-Wan's plan made zero sense. Yoda and Obi-Wan split up for no reason in Episode 3 to each 1v1 some of the most powerful Force users of all time, instead of Yoda and Kenobi jumping Anakin and then jumping Palpatine later. Then splitting the twins and not training them makes no sense. What was Kenobi even doing on Tatooine? Not watching Luke. Luke had been trying to enlist in the Empire for over a year before Episode 4, and Kenobi was just going to let him. Then to give Luke a crash course in Jedi training, then sent him off to 1v2 the same two people that they couldn't even defeat in said 1v1s. They should have trained Luke and Leia together from birth, and then had them jump Palpatine. I don't know how this doesn't really make sense. They literally mentioned it in the movie as to why, because Anakin and Palpatine did not know that there was going to be twins, and during Padme's funeral, we can see that she still looks to be pregnant. The entire point of this was so that they believed that the child had died when Padme had died. So if they were together being trained, without a doubt, the Inquisitors would have found them, Vader would have found them, and they probably would have been turned together. So at the time, this was the smartest move that they could have made, in my opinion.
Alright, next up, Assassin Arrow says, the Mustafar fight was better than the train fight in Spider-Man 2. This sounds like a hot take, but I don't really think it is, okay? Because yeah, the train fight in Spider-Man 2 is iconic, everyone loves it, but really? Better than the Battle of Heroes on Mustafar? No, okay? first off, the fight goes on for so long. It is such a long fight, and there's so many good emotional moments between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Plus, the score for this scene is, oh my gosh, it makes me cry every time I listen to it. I'm serious, like I'm not exaggerating with that. Also, the fight choreography here is just insane. Okay, the lightsaber battles peaked in the prequel trilogy. They haven't really recovered. No, okay, like as good as Spider-Man 2 is, it's not beating the Mustafar fight. You're totally right.
The sequels were on their verge of actually being good Star Wars movies until they made Rey a raid boss without any training, or being able to 1v1 a Sith Lord roughly 3p minutes after, I'm not too sure what that means, 3p minutes after discovering how to use the Force is horrible. Yeah, and this battles down to them just not having a plan. They could have made Rey a great character, and they could have done a lot with her character, as well as John Boyega's character, Finn, but they just didn't. But again, this boils down to them just not having a plan. They went for the quick cash grab that they thought Star Wars was, which at the time, yeah, The Force Awakens made a lot of money, and so did the rest of the sequel movies. But they weren't good movies. They were constantly feeding into fan feedback and trying to counteract things instead of actually making a physical plan and following through with it. And again, I don't think this is a hot take. It genuinely, like, you're right. They could have been really great, but they weren't. And that's solely because of studio meddling.
All right, next up, Dan Trick says, Return of the Jedi is the best movie. I know that there's some people that like this movie and it's their favorite. I'm not one of them. Like, I get it. It's the, the culmination of the original trilogy. It's the ending. It's the final showdown. It's epic. And all the stuff with Jabba's palace is pretty cool too, but I don't think it beats Empire, and I definitely don't think that it beats Revenge of the Sith. It's a good Star Wars movie. It's not bad. I don't think it's the best. So I'm going to have to disagree.
I like the first season of Mando better than Attack of the Clones. Now, I guess this really isn't a hot take, it's more a personal opinion. And I like Attack of the Clones a lot. I think it's extremely overhated and underrated. There are some bad things like the dialogue, but you can't tell me that Geonosis fight is terrible, as well as Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett. The first season of Mando is great though, and definitely I think is the best season out of the three. 2 is very close behind it. And then I'm not even going to discuss 3. You can thank Lizzo and Jack Black for that one. But yeah, I mean, I like I said, I don't think this is a hot take. It probably is better in terms of like the story as well as the characters. At the same time, I still think I'd watch Attack of the Clones over Mando Season 1, just because 1, it'd be done quicker, and 2, I know what I'm going to be in for, which is sick lightsaber fights and some pretty cool characters.
All right, next up. The Jedi are almost damn near just as evil as the Sith. The balance they always bring up doesn't exist. Now, this is a hot take that is always floating around the internet, and I feel like a lot of people agree with it, and I definitely have to as well. I mean, as much as I want to think that the Jedi are the good guys, I don't really think that they are, especially in the prequel trilogy, okay? They might not be the mustache-twirling supervillains that you think of, but the Jedi as an institution, they do a lot of damage to the galaxy, okay? I mean, the Jedi are completely different in each era of the Star Wars history, like on the timeline, but specifically in the prequel trilogy, they have positioned themselves as peacekeepers. That's what they claim that they are. But honestly, they're just the army for the Republic. They're a military. That's what they act like. Also, they took command of a cloned slave army. The clones are slaves, okay? They're mind controlled. They can't do anything about it. It's kind of hard to beat around the bush on that. And then if you look at their philosophy, the Jedi preach like detachment and suppression of your emotions, which, it sounds noble on paper, but it's actually really unhealthy, okay? And this is the most clear with Anakin Skywalker because he is a very emotional individual. He was ripped from his home as a child, his mother died, he was a slave, but instead of helping him process all of these emotions and the fear and the grief and the attachment, the Jedi just tell him to ignore it. They're like, oh yeah, just push all those feelings way deep down and don't even worry about it,
Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
And eventually, all of these repressed emotions just explode. And then Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader and he ends up destroying all of the Jedi. So, I mean, the Jedi, they really did it to themselves, honestly. Now, circling back to what I said about Anakin, I mean, he was taken from his home as a child. And yeah, I know that he was a slave on Tatooine, and technically it was a better situation for him to get out of there, and that's what his mother would have wanted. But still, they separated a child from his mother. He was 9 years old, and that's horrible. That should not happen. And the Jedi did that across the galaxy. Now, with most of the children that they were taking, they were even younger than Anakin. They were taking them like as infants. They don't want to train somebody who's too old. That's why Anakin almost wasn't trained until Obi-Wan, kind of went and vouched for him with the council. They're kidnapping babies and then turning them into space wizards. That's kind of crazy. I don't know. So yeah, like, well, the Jedi technically are fighting worse guys. They're still the bad guys.
By shoehorning in anyone can be special in The Last Jedi, they derailed the Skywalker saga. Because of that, they can't even start a new Star Wars journey properly. Star Wars has lost its charm, the magic is gone, replaced by toxicity in the community, the politics surrounding the fandom, and the inconsistent tone of new projects make it worse for everyone, and trying to make it for adults only fails. Star Wars should stick to children, adventure, hope, and wonder, because that's what made it timeless. Alright, so there's a couple things here. Yes, by them shoehorning in anyone can be special in The Last Jedi, it definitely was a deterrent in the saga, but that wasn't the only thing. There were multiple things leading up to it. The Force Awakens is my favorite sequel movie, and that's saying a lot because The Force Awakens isn't great either. It's literally just retelling the events of A New Hope through a new lens. The Last Jedi had done irreparable damage to Luke Skywalker and his character as a whole, and that turned off fans entirely. So much so that when Solo came out, arguably a way better movie than The Last Jedi, it bombed at the box office. It definitely was a wake-up call, and that's why they brought J.J. Abrams back to try and undo some of the events, but ultimately it failed. Their entire mission was just to make as much money as they possibly could with a new IP that they had just acquired. Yes, Star Wars has lost some of its charm, and the magic definitely is not what it used to be. And there is a lot of toxicity in the community. I have faced it, a lot of people have faced it, and it's never gonna end. There are definitely politics surrounding it, but it's definitely starting to turn a new leaf, and definitely can be great again if the right people are behind it, which it's starting to look that way with the new people coming in, Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, while Kathleen Kennedy is happily gonna be retiring from it.
Okay, next up, Mitchell Hopkins says, Attack of the Clones is the best prequel movie. No, it's not, okay? But no. I think all of the Gladiator Padme edits are messing with your mind a bit. No, it's not the best prequel movie. Not even close. Alright, next up, Frankie the Fifth says, Disney should make new Star Wars stories that don't rely on the main saga. Have it take place early in the Republic or even longer than that, but move away from this 30-year time span. You see, the interesting thing is here is, they do. It's just nobody really likes it. Like, the Acolyte flopped. Mando is technically separate from the rest of the, the main Star Wars saga. Like, I know Luke pops up, in some of it, but it's still different. Like, it's a different story. Now, they're really hit or miss, when they tell these stories that are different from everything else, but what I think you might be sick of is the Order 66 Survivor stories, because that's kind of what I'm sick of. Like, I like a few of them. I liked the Obi-Wan show, kind of. I really like Cal Kestis as a character. I think he is probably one of the best examples of a Order 66 survivor. But yeah, I mean, they do other things. It doesn't always work.
The Empire is right about everything, except maybe them Wookiee slaves. But who's perfect? Now, this is definitely a joke. I doubt they're actually being serious here. There are countless reasons as to why the Empire was wrong about a lot of things. Conquering and destroying other worlds solely just to have the resources doesn't make the Empire right. And we have seen multiple times in Star Wars that a lot of the people living on these planets just want to go about their lives and live their day-to-day. The Empire is constantly making it worse for them. But like I said, I'm not really going to entertain this. I guarantee this wasn't a serious comment. Everything about this seems like it was a joke.
Alright, next up, Christian says, the original trilogy Stormtrooper armor is the best of the whole franchise and no other armor can rival its beauty in my opinion. Anyway, I'm super happy that you're starting a Star Wars hot take series. Yeah, I'm happy about it too. A little nervous though because of how toxic Star Wars fans can get. But anyway, I don't think I can agree with your take though. I'm sorry. I think that the Stormtrooper armor in the original trilogy is just really ugly. I don't like the face shape on the helmet. It's just, no. I think my favorite armor design from Star Wars has to be the Phase 2 Clone Trooper armor. Like, call me basic, whatever, but like, come on, it looks so badass. It's so cool, and I love it when they add other colors to it for like the specialty troopers. Like, my favorite clone trooper like design, he may not be my favorite clone, but my favorite design has to be Commander Gree. He is so cool. I love the green and the silver. It's so good.
Mace Windu should have been Anakin's master. I feel like this would have set up Anakin to be a double agent sorta, like Snape in the Harry Potter series. Getting close to and learning from Palpatine, but taking orders from and reporting to Mace. While, yes, this is a great idea, it definitely would not have worked. Palpatine had been grooming Anakin from the day he met him. We can see this all the way back in The Phantom Menace. And if we want to bring in a little bit of legends here, Plagueis definitely played a hand in Anakin's birth. Now, he didn't create him, but he definitely attempted to. So Palpatine already had his eyes on Anakin, and that's why he also had sent Maul to Tatooine to begin with. He wanted Maul to take Anakin, and eventually Maul would have been thrown to the side like he was anyway. And the entire time throughout the Jedi Order, Mace was hating on Anakin, and he was his biggest hater. He was Anakin's Lex Luthor, the biggest D1 hater we've seen. There was a deleted scene where we saw Mace being more kind to Anakin in episode 3 and trusting him when he told him about Palpatine's plan, but it was ultimately cut. And for the sake of conversation, if this was going to happen, I guarantee Palpatine would have figured out the true intentions very quickly through Anakin, because he could tell how deeply Anakin's visions were affecting him, and definitely would have realized that something else was going on. So ultimately, I don't think this would have worked, but it is a hot take. Before I get out of here, I just want to say thank you to Nemo for letting me be part of this video, and if you want to check out my channel, the link will probably be in the description down below. But with all that being said, my name is Caden, or Cantina Talk. I hope you all have a great day.
Okay, next up, Forrest Cooper says, hot take, The Phantom Menace is a good movie and it doesn't deserve the hate it gets. It's still a pretty bad movie. Don't get me wrong, the last 20 minutes, amazing. So good. But the rest of it, it's garbage, okay? Like, we gotta stop letting individual scenes distract us from how bad the rest of the movie is, okay? Duel of the Fates, so peak. Everything else, no, okay? And don't even get me started on that dumb, like, little battle going on between the droid army and the whatever Jar Jar species. I don't remember what they're called. Anyway, I'm gonna get totally crucified for this video, but anyway, I don't think it's a good movie. It's bad. All right, next up, Danny Story says, Episode 3 is very overrated. It doesn't quite feel like its own entire movie, similar to Endgame. Now, I know what I just said about the Phantom Menace and how we gotta stop letting individual scenes distract us from how bad a movie is, but can we just make an exception for the Revenge of the Sith movie, please? Please? Because that movie, it bangs so hard, like, come on. And it's not even just the final fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan. There are so many good moments in that movie, and maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's because there's so many memes from that movie, but I genuinely think that Revenge of the Sith is a good movie, and I think it's the only good movie from the prequel trilogy. Like, just because I hate Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, like, I don't know, my feelings about those movies don't carry over to this one. This one just, it hits different, you know? All right, next up, Blue Jay says, I'm sorry in advance. Cal Kestis is a better written and a better protagonist than Luke and Anakin. Now, it's gonna hurt me to say this because I love Anakin, but I have to agree, okay? Cal Kestis is a very complete character, and the reason why is because he's had 2 full games to himself, okay? And both of those games are like 10 hours long, okay? He has had so much time to develop his character, his motivations, his thoughts and feelings, his backstory, all of it. He feels like a real person, and Luke and Anakin just haven't had the same amount of time, you know, to really develop themselves as characters, unless you're counting the Clone Wars series, but Luke especially. Luke doesn't really have that much, you know, and if you're not counting like the legends and the books and stuff, Luke's barely got anything, okay? Cal Kestis is, I don't know, he just feels like the most like a real person, and maybe it's because of Cameron Monaghan's performance, but he is just so good, and he's so relatable as a Star Wars protagonist because he's the underdog, and everyone loves a good underdog story, obviously. I don't know. I love Cal Kestis. He's probably one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I might like him more than Anakin. I think it just goes back and forth depending on the day. But in terms of quality of writing, Cal Kestis is definitely far superior than any other Star Wars protagonist. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it all, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button, and drop in the comments down below your Star Wars hot takes. They might be featured in a part 2. If I decide to make one. Let's see how toxic the comments get first. Also, quick shout out to Cantina Talk. Thank you for coming on the video. Pleasure having you. Anyway, that's going to be it. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.